Hola a todos y feliz Día de los Reyes. Ahora quiero mostrar un artículo por negocios sobre Tesla y hoy mucho vocabulario difícil, pero es muy fluente y es bastante bien para conocer las frases y todos, ¿vale? Ahora compartir mi plantilla. Now I share my screen and you can see on the left here is the article from Bloomberg. Okay, so very professional, very business related text. Okay, so this is the text on the left. Volkswagen CEO delivers a wake-up call, is como alertar, a wake-up call on capital markets dilemma. Okay, so this is the text and this is the link for the website. And also you can see if you scroll and move down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have a lot of paragraphs. Okay, so just to show you the length of the text before we begin. And in this, there's a lot of very important vocabulary and expressions specifically related to business. And we move back to the top. And now I will share my notes. So this is the same article. And I have identified the key vocabulary that I want to talk about here. Okay. On the right, you can see my notes. So I can type and explain some vocabulary also. And on the left, we have word reference if we need to translate some vocabulary. Okay, so let's look at the first page. The CEO is the Chief Executive Officer, and he delivers is to send, como enviar. This expression, a wake-up call, is very important. It's if there is a peligroso, un situación muy peligroso, necesitas alertar a alguien con un llamado, ¿vale? It's in a little wake-up call. So in the future, there is danger, there is problems in the future. So a wake-up call is a little warning, an alertar pequeño, ¿vale? On capital markets dilemma, and dilemma is like a problem. Okay, so if we continue, the rich valuations give automatic disruptors a funding edge. So an edge is very important. It's like an advantage. Okay, so if you have an edge, we say competitive edge. It's a little advantage. So if you have the table, the edge of the table is the frontera. So the edge in relation to business or sports is a little advantage. Okay, so it's very, very important. And here funding is related to money. So financial advantage. They have more money, more finance, more power. Okay, so we continue to the second page, and this is just a picture of the Chief Executive Officer. And the first paragraph here, the disruptive threats. So the verb in English is to threaten, and in Espanol is amenazar, and the substantivo in English is a threat. Okay, so I will write here, the verb is to threaten, en, that's the verbo, okay, and the substantivo is a threat, amenazar. Okay, so the disruptive threats in the plural, Herbert Diaz saw coming for big incumbent automakers soon after he took over. Okay, so this is a phrasal verb. To take over is control. So if you take over the top job, that means to control, that you're in the new position of the top job at Volkswagen. Okay, so it's a very famous expression, to take over. Again, last week we had the same example in the car. If two people are driving, the man and the woman, and for example, the man is driving and the woman takes over the control. So she decides to control the driving. Okay, so it's typical in business, in every situation really, to take over. Okay, at Volkswagen are playing out as predicted. So that means to happen, to play out is to happen. Ocurrir in Espanol, to play out or to happen as predicted. Okay, only faster and more dramatic fashion. In an interview, the Chief Executive Officer, speedier is related to velocity. Okay, but it's más rápido. Okay, so velocity, and we have más, the comparative, speedier. Okay, so speed is velocity, or mass velocity. Overhaul is very important. So to haul is like to transport, and overhaul is transformation. So if you have an overhaul of a company, it's a big transformation, an enormous transformation. That's a very good word in business, an overhaul. In sports, in football, you have the plantilla, the squad, and you need to do or make an overhaul of the plantilla of the squad. It's to change completely. So a total transformation is an overhaul. Okay, very good vocabulary. Also, we have, in relation to transport, we say a short haul flight or a long haul flight. And again, it's related to transport, a short transport flight or a long transport flight. Okay, so very good vocabulary. Long haul. To withstand is the next verb, and it's very advanced English as well. To withstand is como survive, sobrevivir. Okay, to survive the problem. To withstand the pressure, typical with pressure, to survive the pressure. Okay, and here it's to withstand the rivals, like to tolerate or to survive the rivals. The next verb is to reflect, and it's typical with the preposition on. So to reflect on your decision, to reflect on your investment, to reflect on your choices. And this grammar is a very good structure. Not only is connected with this word but. So not only am I cold, but I am hungry. So it's a very good expression. No solo tengo hambre, soy frío también, ¿vale? So it's a very good expression in English, the two combined, not only and but. Another is connected to singular. Okay, so another competitor, singular, but other is for plural. Okay, so let me write here in the text, another plus the singular, another day, but other with the plural. That's the general rule. Okay, so other days, but another day singular. Okay, so we go back to the text, and mighty is like strong, fuerza, strong competitor, very strong and powerful competitor. So it's a very good adjective, a mighty competitor, very strong, muy fuerte. Okay, resources are recursos. In Espanol, the pronunciation is recursos in Espanol. In English, it's resources. Okay. Despite, a pesar de, currently, a este momento, okay? Actualmente in Espanol. Currently, in English, in Espanol is actualmente. Rather, bastante. Rather more difficult situation. Bastante, situación bastante más difícil. When I took tomar office. So the verb tomar, to take office, okay? And to this extent, a este nivel, to this level, okay? So very good vocabulary, very simple, very basic, but very fluent and typical for business English, typical for general English, and very comfortable and advanced vocabulary. Okay, so if we move to the next page, we can see more good expressions, and the first one is to aim, and in Espanol, enfocar. So in English, to aim, enfocar. And typical with the preposition for. So enfocar por los estrellas, to aim for the stars. Okay. In line with, in línea con, very good expression. In acuerdo con, in línea con Apple. Okay, so very good vocabulary. Google, to be still around is to be existing. Still, todavía. Ser existente. Okay, so to be existing, to still be existing for another 2 decades. The gap is a hueco, like a space, espacio, hueco, the hole. The gap has only grown, and grow is crecer in the verbo, but the participle grown. Okay. Beating is vencer a. So vencer a, so beating him to the punch. Punch is with the puño, with the fist, a punch, and it's a very famous expression. And to be sure, I'm going to show you the translation here. Beat to the punch. Okay, well, no, I don't think we see it. Beat to the draw, maybe is very, very similar. Okay, so yes, that's the translation. Yeah, exactly, más rápido, okay, and otra persona. Okay, so to beat to the punch, to beat, very, very good expression. Also, in a joke in English, when you tell a joke, you have the punch line, the línea for the punch line. So the punch line is the most important line in the joke. Okay, so let me write that so you remember. In a joke, broma, the punch line of the joke. Okay, very good. So the next adjective is fetching. And here it is very advanced vocabulary. So the verb is to fetch. Okay, and fetch is to get. It's typical with the dog. If you have the stick, palo, and you throw the stick, and you say, para decir al perro, fetch. So it's como go ir y coger el palo, ¿vale? So it's very important to fetch is como conseguir, to obtain, obtener, okay, to obtain, to get. And here it's exactly the same by obtaining almost $700 billion market capitalization. Worth is valor. So the company, the valuation, the valor, the company is worth more than the next 6 most valuable car makers combined. Okay, the verb deprive, I think it's very similar in Spanish, but it's usually connected with the preposition of. So to deprive the dog of food, to deprive the company of sales, to deprive the company of profit, very typical combination, deprive somebody or something of. Okay, and fit is caber. So in relation to clothes, ropas, if you wear llevar los ropas, cabe, fit. Do they fit very well? And here for the company, it's the same combination, meaning or significance, to fit. Okay, and the next page, if we continue to the next page, because there's a lot of vocabulary in the text. Fall behind, this is the graph in relation to the content. And the first expression is to fall behind. So the verb fall is caer, fallen is the participle, and behind is atrás. Okay, again, this expression left in the dust is very good expression. Left is from dejar, the past simple, and dust is polvo. Dejar in el polvo in Espanol, I don't know if that's possible, but in English is to leave somebody in the dust. Okay, again, como más rápido que en otra persona, to beat, vencer a alguien, to beat somebody to the punch in English. Okay, so very good, very conversational expressions, very maybe informal, but very, very fluent. Okay, rose is a verb, the past simple, like incrementar. So the verb in English is to rise, is the verb, and rose is the past. So rise is like increase. El sol, the sun rises. El precio, the price rises, the temperature rises, and in the past it's rose. Okay, so shares are acciones. The shares rose 1.6%, and I'll just highlight the vocabulary again. So the shares are acciones. The goal is meta, the meta, so mitad el meta, or la meta. Okay, map, DS and his management team had mapped out. So a map is in relation to navigation. If you're in the city, you have the map, and you're looking at the plano in Espanol, el plano. And the verb in English to map out is como planificar. Okay, so it's a synonym here to plan, and in Espanol it's planificar. Okay, has mapped out, that's the present perfect auxiliary verb to have, and the participle mapped out, so it's like planned. Okay, so we move to the next page, and I'll just show you here with the screen. So the next page is issue is asunto in Espanol. The issue, the asunto, and matter is practically the same. So matter and issue are almost the same, the issue and the matter. Brag is very advanced English, and bragging rights is a very famous expression as well. But let me get the translation specifically for brag because it's very important. So the verb is to brag, and presser, alardeer, so very, very good vocabulary. But bragging rights, I hope, no, okay, so the rights are derechas. Okay, so the rights, not exactly derecha, it would be, let me see exactly, derechos, exactly. So derechos, the bragging, very, very good vocabulary. Very famous expression, bragging rights, typical in sports. If Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, Atletico Madrid win, gana, they have the bragging rights sobre Barcelona, okay? And it's very, very good vocabulary, very typical in business and in sports as well. Okay, raise is also another verb, to raise. It's very similar to increase, and it's possible to raise a child, como nurture, to nurture or educate. And here you can raise funds as well in relation to money. And it's typical, a fundraiser is the event to generate money for the company or for the charity as well. So to raise is like crecer, increase, and here it's the same as well. So the money, the billion, was raised equivalent to about half of the net after tax. So netto after tax, after costs, and the cash flow. Okay, so the flow of money is the flow of cash available to the company. Okay, the next key word is dwarfing. Okay, so a dwarf, and in Snow White, so I'm going to show you the fairy tale. I don't know if they have Snow White. Yes, Snow White is Blanca Nueve, I think. Yeah, Snow White is Blanca Nueves, okay? And Blanca Nueves tiene los siete dwarfs, okay? So a dwarf is a little person, and in relation to business, it's in relation to size. So this company, Apple, is dwarfing the other company. So it's bigger, much bigger, and the other company is small. So the concept is related to the Blanca Nueves and the size, okay? So here it's related to the number, 500,000 cars. Very good vocabulary. 5 straight quarters. Straight is consecutive. So the key here is straight. And in this case, it's consecutive. 5 consecutive quarters. The next word is very important because the verb is to lose. And this is the substantivo, losses. Okay, so I'm going to write here, the verb is to lose. El verbo with one O. The substantivo is a loss. And the plural are losses. So that's exactly what we have here. The losses, ignited, investor. Those, the next word is very key also in relation to general English. So, for example, singular, we have this, singular. That, singular. Plural when it's close to you, these. And plural when it's in the distance, those. Okay, so there's 4 words. We have this for singular. For example, this book, este libro. That book when it's in a distance, away, fuera, that book, singular. And plural, estos, these books, plural here. And those books, plural, away. And here it's exactly the same. It's related to the distance. Success is éxito. Along with is como también con. A startup company is a new company with a new idea. A very small company at the beginning, and then eventually it grow and grow and grow. Typical in technology, you have a startup. The verb to merge is like combine. So if you have 2 companies and they merge, they combine. Okay, so a merger is when 2 companies combine. And the verb in English is to merge. And in this case, it's the past simple, emerged. Okay, so very good vocabulary, very general and quite fluent and very important as well. A warning, so the verb is to warn, alertar. And a warning is the substantivo. So if it's a dangerous, silly situation, peligroso, you have a warning, and it's from the verb alertar, to warn. Trend is something like in moda. The trend is something in fashion, something popular. And again, it's typical in Twitter. You have the trending topic. So something that is popular and very important at the moment. And this is the substantivo. Overdone. So over is sobre and done is from ather, the participle of to do in English. So do, did, done. Did is the past and done is the participle. So to overdo is like hacer demasiado. Okay, hacer demasiado. So the trend is exaggerated, it's excessive. In English with over, we have lots of vocabulary. To overeat, it's like excessive eating. Over drink, drink excessive. Okay, and overdo is the same, excessive with hacer. Roughly is approximately. The combined roughly, approximately. Largely is related to large, like a big quantity. So greatly, and the negative cambio in the negativo. So no cambio. Okay, greatly, big quantity, no cambio. The next expression is very good. A través el techo, literalmente a través el techo, but related to the price in the company. If the price is through the roof, it's muy alto. Okay, so through the roof is muy alto. También si alguien es muy enfadado, if they're very angry, then you can say they are through the roof as well. Okay, so it's a very good expression, typical with price and usually for a high price, excessive price. Okay, so we move to the next page, and similar, quite basic vocabulary, far to. So I'll show you here. Far is lejos, but it's possible with an adjective. Demasiado. So it's more emphasis that it's demasiado pessimistic, pero pessimistic, too pessimistic, far too pessimistic. So it's more emphasis, the different level. Okay. It's the same with all adjectives. Far too happy, far too hungry, far too tired. It's excessive. Okay, so it's just another level. Remain is quedar. So the subject is we, nosotros. Remain is quedar. And convinced. So we remain convinced. Global reach, alcanzar. So the global reach, alcanzar. Brand is marca. And equity is like accione también, very similar to share, the interest that you have in the company, the acciones, okay? And brand is marca. The balance sheet is, the sheet is like the página in relation to the money. So the balance sheet is the page with all the final information for the money, okay? The income and the expenditure, the credit and the debit. You have the balance sheet. Balance is equilibrio, okay? Play is jugar un papel, play a role, so play a dominant role in the future of mobility. So again, very fluent, very comfortable English, and very conversational, very native, and very good. Typical for business and important to remember if you can. Led by, okay, so the verb is liderar, to lead, and the past is led. So you can see led by the company, the group was managed or led by, directed by Patrick Hummel. So lead is liderar, and led is the past, and by is pour. Top pick is the top selection. Okay, so to pick, pickar, and the top pick in the candidates is the top selection. Among is con. So you have a lot of people, and among, you are among the people. It's like you are with the people. Okay, at the party, you are with your friends, so you are among friends. So among and with are very similar, but also amongst. So we have three words, with, among, and amongst, and they're practically the same. So I will just write here, we have among and amongst. And maybe this is older English, possibly a bit more formal, but they have more or less the same significance. Likely is very important. So strategies are likely, and it's probably. So today it is likely to rain. It's probably. Okay. So likely is probably. The substantivo is very important. Likelihood. So positive, likely, adjective. Substantivo, likelihood. The negative, unlikely. Okay, so I will write that here. Likely is probable. Unlikely is the negative. And the substantivo is likelihood. And that's the most difficult to remember, but it's very good quality English, the likelihood, like the probability. Okay, so the likelihood of rain today is very, very high, and it's like the probability. Okay, good vocabulary. To be rewarded is like a premio, but exactly here, because you need to be careful to reward, the verb is, well, that's a substantivo, verb, okay. Premiar, recompensar, perfect. So in English, there's two words. Recompensar is to reward, but different, substantivo is a reward, but different we have to award, and that's related to premios. Okay, so a little different. You need to be careful with the difference. And you can see the verb to be, it's in the passive form. So this example is in the passive. We have the verb to be plus the participle of the second verb, and that's a good example of the passive. Pledge is the next one. So the verb is to pledge, and I will write here. Pledge is the verb, and the past simple is pledged, and it has the same significance of to promise, prometer. Okay, so to promise, to pledge is typical in business with money. You pledge your money, you promise, prometer. Okay, and in this situation, it's the company has promised to become the force. Okay, the next one, ongoing. So it's related to the verb to go, and go on is to continue. And this is a substantive, adjective, ongoing. It's like a continued problem. So if you have an ongoing problem, it's a problem that continues and continues and continues, that goes on for a long time. And fall out, so fall is caer, and out is fuera. But this word, the fallout, are the consequences. So if you have a meeting and the consequences of the meeting are the fallout. So fall is caer and out is fuera of the meeting. It's the consequence of the meeting, the fallout of the meeting. So very good vocabulary, possible in business, possible in everyday English. And ongoing is the continued consequences from COVID. Weigh is pesar. So the verb pesar in Espanol is to weigh, but be careful, the substantivo has the T. So the verb is to weigh, pesar, pero substantivo has the T, W-E-I-G-H-T. And that's very, very important with the spelling. So the weight, el pesado. So let me just highlight the T, very, very important, the T. So weigh, and then the preposition on, because the earnings, so the verb to earn is ganar, and earning is the substantivo earnings. So verb ganar, to earn, and then the substantivo earnings. And then it will weigh, pesar, on, preposition on the earnings. Okay? Stuck is related to the verb to stick. So the verb is to stick, como pegar. And stuck is the past, irregular. So pegar is to stick, and in the past it's stuck. Okay, and the typical preposition is to, pegar a, stick to in the present, and this is the past, stuck to, and the target is the meta, the goal. So you focus, enfocar, you stay concentrated, stick to the target. Okay, in sports, in football, also with the defender and the player, you stick to the defender. Muy apretado, okay, very tight. As early as 2022, a very good combination, very simple, but very fluent as well. Como and early is related to pronto, as early as. Deliver, again, we saw that in the title. So the verb to deliver here, specifically for the verb, is repartir, distribuir, okay? And it's typical with the preposition on in relation to the goal. So you have the target, you have the aim, you have the goal, and you want to distribute, you want to deliver, conseguir, you want to deliver on the goal, deliver on the target. To go a long way is como hacer mucho, to go a long way. Could, it's possible modal, could go a long way, hacer mucho. Hacer un gran trabajo, to defy. Okay, it's from defiance, so the verb is to defy, and specifically, to be sure, the verb to defy is desafiar, okay? Yeah, and to avoid skeptical investor. So the verb is to invest, invertir, and investor is the person, singular, but the S is the plural, investors, skeptical investors, that remain, quedar, remain unconvinced, the negative, that Volkswagen can become more nimble. Nimble is very good vocabulary. It's similar to flexible, adaptable. So if you're very nimble, you're very flexible, and you're very adaptable, okay? Maybe it's similar in Espanol, nimble. So good vocabulary, a lot of important expressions. The next page, page 9, the negative is typically associated with yet, todavía, okay? So we have not sufficiently proved yet. So usually yet is connected with the negative. This expression hold is tener. Tener is to hold, but it's more specific. If you hold the hand of the person, it's more control. And hold your ground is like mantener tu posición, to maintain your position, to hold your ground. It's a defense, very, very defensive. Okay, so to hold your ground. Still is todavía. It's similar with yet. You need to be very clear with still, todavía, and yet. And yet is typical with the negative more often. Lead, liderar, in the present. Subject is this, leads to. Okay, so liderar a grave disadvantage, grave in Espanol, very serious, in terms of, in relation to, in terms of, in relation to. Okay, in terms of access, in relation to access. Investment is the substantivo, so the verb is to invest, invertir. Investment is the substantivo, and investments with the S is plural. Your peer is a very good word, and a peer is somebody the same level, same experience as you. So you're a senior executive, and your peers are the other senior executives. So the same level, they're your peers. There's a very famous expression in English, peer pressure, typical with teenagers, adolescents. So the adolescent has the pressure from the other adolescents. That's peer pressure, okay? Peer, I'm going to write just so you're sure, peer pressure. So very good vocabulary, very important. And here, peers in relation to Volkswagen. Raising, so remember raise is like increase or crecer or to grow or to nurture. And funds is in relation to money. So you're trying to raise the money. You're trying to generate the dinero, generate the money. Selling is the verb to sell, vender, and stock is like share, like equity, accione, okay? And sell is vender, so selling stock. Further complicated is related to far. So far is lejos, further is más lejos, and here it's complicated, más complicado, okay? Muy más complicado. Further complicated. Fill, llenar, in the participle, so it's the present perfect, the auxiliary have in the present, and fill in the participle, llenar, okay? And present perfect. And the coffer are like the account. So the coffer is in relation to business, the account, the cuenta, the bank, cuenta de bankia, okay? Or yeah, the account that you have, they're your coffers. So to fill the coffers are to poner dinero entre las cuentas, okay? So to fill coffers, very difficult vocabulary and very typical for business, very good level of vocabulary. The next one are to sell. So the verb is to sell, vender, very important difference. So the verb is to sell. And the past are the sales, substantivo. Okay, so the sales are the substantivo, but the verb is to sell. And it's a very common confusion. So you need to be very clear between the difference to sell and the sales. Okay, and the past, more complicated, sold. Past irregular, sold. This expression, the sales tanked, is como bajar. So the sales dropped, gotiar, caer, fall. The sales tanked. So good vocabulary again. And then page 10, to gear toward is como preparar. So we must significantly improve our cost, gastos, and work on efficiency, como mejorar, efficiency, to gear the traditional business significantly more toward, como preparar the business hacia, toward returns. And the return is the money that you receive, the profit. Okay. Sought is good language again. So the verb is to seek. The verb is to seek, como buscar, and the past irregular is sought. So let me show you here. The verb is to seek, similar to buscar, and the past is sought. Okay, so we sought, and then to rally the troops is como animar the staff or the trabajadores. So animar los trabajadores, to motivate the workers, to motivate the company. It's a very famous expression, to rally the troops. It's typical from the military and the soldiers. You have to motivate the soldiers. You have to rally the troops. So that's a very good expression. It's common in ordinary English, and here it's in business English. Okay, so the next expression is a little tricky. Last month, by declaring Volkswagen would pit its largest factory in Wolfsburg, Germany, against Tesla's plant still under construction. So bajo construction, that's understandable, but pit somebody against, or to pit something against, is como poner algo, alguien contra. So pit in this situation is similar to put, and in Espanol it's similar to poner. Okay, it's difficult vocabulary, advanced English, I think, for sure. So to pit somebody against is like poner. Embark, maybe it's similar in Spanish, it's to start, iniciar. So Volkswagen also started, typical the preposition on, started a plan, initiated a plan to reduce material cost, gastos, by 7% within 2 years, dentro dos años, and hammer out a deal. So hammer is the herramiento, hammer, it's a tipo de herramiento, and martillo, the mazo. And to hammer out a deal is a trato, or an agreement, and it means to work, trabajador, trabajo, trabajar para hacer un trato, to hammer out a deal. Okay, with unions, sindicados. So the union is a sindicado in Espanol. Costs 5% by 2023. Yes, ruffled feathers, very advanced, very proficient. The verb is to ruffle, very difficult. And here you can see ruffle, specifically in Espanol, is rumple, ondular, confundir. Yeah, that's probably more accurate. Aturdir, alterar. And feathers are plumas for the bird. So the plumas for the bird, to ruffle feathers, is like to molestar, to disturb, or to agitate somebody. Okay, to very famous expression I'm going to write here, to ruffle feathers. Not weather, sorry, feathers, plumas. Okay, hard-nosed style. So nose is this part, and a hard nose is my cabezón, very ignorant, very focused, very determined, stubborn. The best word I think is stubborn in English, and the translation for stubborn, specifically in Espanol, very important, obdurante, maybe. Stubborn is terco. Okay, terco, so difficult, very hard-nosed, very focused, very very blinker, just one direction. Okay, and company can ill afford, so cannot, it's the negative, cannot afford to waste time. Okay, so ill is like sick, enfermo. Afford is related to money or your reputation. So here they cannot afford to waste time, gastar tiempo. The overhaul, remember the transformation. The transformation is still progressing demasiado lentamente. To shed is como perder. So to shed is to lose, and you can shed weight, perder peso. Very good vocabulary, to shed. It's like to lose. And typical with the dog is shedding his hair, like losing his hair. Typical with the dog. Okay. Focus is typical with the preposition focus on. Ganar, backing, espalda, pero ganar apoyo, to win support, to win backing. Stakeholder are the people with the interest. Okay, so the stakeholder specifically, very important for business. Stakeholder is accionista, parte interesado. Okay, person with an investment or an interest. And niche is very similar in Spanish in nicho. Okay, so Dres said the niche, just the pronunciation in English is important. The niche operations account for less than 1% of revenue. And in the final page, we have the word former, and the same yesterday. So former is X. So your former job, your former company, your former colleague. So former is X. A vote of confidence is typical in business. It's apoyo también, support. The board. So let me see the board of the company in relation. I think it's specifically here the board. Management group, consejo, exactly. So the consejo, the board, dar a vote of confidence. In English, it's very famous. The consejo, the board, give a vote of confidence to the person, a vote of confidence to the manager. Okay? To pursue is como seguir, to follow. To pursue the transfer, to continue, to follow the transformation. Trim is related to cortar. So cortar gastos, and trim is typical for the peluqueria, the hairdressers or the barbers. A little cut. Cortar pequeño is a little trim. Okay, and it's very flexible, very good vocabulary. Warn, alertar. So he is the subject. Warn is the verb. S with the third person. Could be dire consequences. Very bad consequences. There could be very serious, very dramatic, very bad consequences if the company employs, if a company that employs 670,000 people worldwide. So world is mundo, wide is amplio, worldwide is everywhere, all over the world, around the world. Okay, does too little to change, too late to change. Realize is darse cuenta. Threat is amenazar in the substantivo. And that is the end of the vocabulary. Okay, so very difficult vocabulary, very advanced, very fluent, very good level. And I recommend that you check again and try to study and try to review the vocabulary from today. It's a lot. Today is a lot of vocabulary, but very important. And here you can see the notes as well. So hopefully, ojalá, ellos ayudan, they help. Okay, and I'll just go back here to the document. So this is the web page, and again this is the full natural text. So very native, very comfortable, very normal for native speakers, but difficult for people learning English. So I hope that helps. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, you can put them on the video and I can reply and answer. Okay, so thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day, and talk to you soon. Bye.